In the heart of Lagos, behind crumbling walls and fading memories lies a forgotten city born of glory and buried in mystery. They called it FESTAC Town, built for gods, artists and kings. But long after the drums stopped, something remained. Some say the land remembers, others say the spirits never left. This is not just the story of a festival. It's the story of pride, power, and a warning to anyone who dares to buy land without knowing its past.
In 1977, Lagos pulsed with the rhythms of Miriam Makeba and Stevie Wonder as the world gathered for FESTAC 77, a celebration of Black culture. But the land where this festival thrived holds secrets. Welcome to FESTAC Town, where history lingers in the soil, and some say the gods have refused to leave. This isn't just a story about buildings or roads. It's about spirits, memory, pride, and regret. The heights of Pan-African unity to the depths of neglect and haunting silence. This is the story of FESTAC Town, a place that once welcomed the world and now whispers warnings to those who still walk its streets. This is a story of pride, decline, and a lesson for anyone dreaming of a home built on land with a past. In the heart of the 1970s, a cultural movement was building. Black and African people across the world were reclaiming their roots, their language, their identity. And Nigeria, rich with oil wealth and Pan-African pride, stepped forward. In 1977, Nigeria hosted FESTAC 77, the second World Black and African Festival of Arts and Culture. It became the largest Pan-African cultural gathering in human history. Over 16,000 participants from 56 nations gathered in Lagos to celebrate the soul of Black identity. The idea began in Dakar, Senegal in 1966, the first World Festival of Negro Arts. But Lagos would be its grand rebirth. Nigeria poured millions into infrastructure and built FESTAC Village, a city within a city, designed to host kings, creators, and something more. You see, the guest list for FESTAC 77 wasn't just musicians and scholars. It included spiritual leaders, diviners, magicians, voodoo priests and priestesses from across the Black world. From the shores of Haiti to the groves of Benin to the oracles of Ifa in Yoruba land, Lagos was preparing to host not just a festival, but a global assembly of Black spirituality. Some say the rituals performed in those days awakened ancient forces. It's never others believe they never left. Still, on the surface, it was majestic. Over 5,000 homes were built to house guests. Streetlights, parks, schools, and the National Theatre modeled after the Palace of Culture and Sports in Bulgaria. For a brief moment, FESTAC was the beating heart of a united Black race. Some vision of what could be if we remembered who we were. Behind the songs and parades, whispers of older powers watched in silence.
From January 15 to February 12, 1977, Lagos became a living altar of Black expression. 50 plays, 150 concerts, 200 poetry readings. all echoing from venues like the National Theatre, Tafawa Balewa Square, and Obafemi Awolowo University in Ife. In Kaduna, 1,000 kilometers away, a grand Durbar unfolded. Emirs, camels, horses, all parading through desert dust to honor the northern legacy. But Lagos was the heartbeat. There, the world met itself. Stevie Wonder performed, bringing soul and prophecy from across the Atlantic. Miriam Makeba, Mama. Africa sang against the apartheid's grip. Gilberto Gil from Brazil, Wole Soyinka from Nigeria, and black scholars from London to Jamaica all stood shoulder to shoulder. But not everyone danced to the government's drum. Fela Anikulapo Kuti, the firebrand of Afrobeat, boycotted FESTAC. He held counter-performances at Kalakuta Republic, denouncing Nigeria's military regime, and many followed him, splitting the celebration in two. But beneath the spotlight and the applause, something else was happening. At night outside the festival grounds, sacred rituals were performed. In the forests bordering FESTAC village, sacrifices were made to ancestral spirits, to call favor, to open gateways, to honor the ancestors. Goats were slaughtered, libations were poured. Masks from Dahomey, Haiti, and Oyo were consecrated under moonlight. An eyewitness, now an old man, recalled, "There were drums that no one could find during the day, fires that lit themselves, and chants in languages no one alive had spoken in centuries." Some say these acts, meant to bless the gathering, may have left a residue, a spiritual scar on the land, that while the guests left, the spirits stayed. So when we remember FESTAC as a triumph of unity, we must also ask, what energy was stirred in those 40 days? And what still echoes today in the quiet streets of FESTAC Town? After the music faded, the fireworks gone and the flights departed, FESTAC Village remained. Rebranded as FESTAC Town, it became home to thousands, teachers, civil servants, and middle-class dreamers moved in. Attracted by street lights, modern roads, and parks that once hosted Pan-African dancers, children played on sidewalks where Stevie Wonder once walked. Market women sold okra and agbalumo under street signs named after black icon. At first, it felt like a true legacy. Victor Udo, a longtime resident, put it best. It used to say, well, "Welcome to FESTAC, now just look at it." Still in those early years, FESTAC Town was called Little London, orderly, clean, and full of promise. Parents walked children to schools built by the same hands that once constructed cultural pavilions. But what no one asked was this: what spirits were watching? What gods had been invited during FESTAC 77 and never left? The peace was real, but fragile. And underneath, the land began to murmur. By the late 1990s, the dream began to rot. Flooded roads replaced bright boulevards. Street lights died. Trash burned in corners where children once danced. Sewage spilled into homes. Parks turned into hangouts for cult boys and street hustlers. Hope gave way to resignation. Kairat Animashauna Ajiboye, a resident and activist, said it plainly. Our public schools were excellent. Now the streets are garbage dumps. But not everyone blames just the government. Some say the problem runs deeper, beneath the soil itself. You see, in African cosmology, land remembers. And when you host thousands of spiritual performances, libations, invocations, not all those energies fade with time. One elder whispered, "We invited the ancestors, but we never dismissed them." Mrs. Amaka, a fictional resident inspired by many voices, shares her story. "At night, I hear drums in the distance, but no one is playing, and sometimes my lights flicker when I pray." Then there's Mr. Ease. "My son changed after we moved here. He talks in his sleep, says names I've never heard. It's like the land is telling him things." Of course, not everyone believes in spirits, but the patterns are hard to ignore. Why does dysfunction seem generational? Why do some say the air feels heavy, like something is watching? Maybe it's poverty, maybe it's neglect, or maybe it's the echo of a festival that stirred too much too fast and left no priest to silence the drum. FESTAC Town teaches us something, that land is not just earth and cement. It's a living witness, a keeper of history. When you buy land, you inherit more than paperwork. You inherit everything that has ever happened there. The joy, the trauma, the rituals, the blood. Some lands are tired, some are angry, and some are still awake. In FESTAC's case, the land was stirred. Thousands of artists, priests, dancers, and diviners summoned the past. Sacrifices were made. Masks were worn. Songs were chanted to ancestors' gods in over 30 tongues. And yet, no one stayed behind to close the gates they opened. Mr. Easy, a long-time resident, asked a question worth remembering. Does the land remember the chaos, even when we forget the music? So, before you sign the deed, before you raise the first block, ask, who lived here before me? What was done here? What Christ has this soil absorbed? Because the building may be new, but the land underneath is ancient. And in Africa, the land always remembers. FESTAC's story is not just history. It's a mirror and a warning. This land once hosted the largest Black Arts Festival in the world. But today, its streets crack under neglect. Its youth wander in search of meaning. And its soil still whispers. But it doesn't have to end this way. We can learn from FESTAC. We can build homes and legacies that respect the land, that acknowledge what came before, that ask the right questions before laying the first brick. So before you buy that plot, before you invest in property, ask yourself, what story does this land carry? Because the past is never really past. It sleeps beneath your feet. If this story made you pause, share it, comment below with your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories where culture meets land and history speaks through the walls. Until then, listen closely, because in places like FESTAC, the gods may never have left.